What's going on, people? This is a special edition of the film review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracey.
And we review culture and movies, music, politics, and society. And do we have a great one? We just came from the theater watching it, and we had to give the review. How do you like the lighting? The lighting used for when you're at nighttime, and we light it up. At Lordland Films, we make sure that you look great with the lighting, because I am a lighting specialist, and I make sure that things that happen in the edits are always great. So anyway,
late night review. We just left the theater. We went to the late show.
That's right, and we saw Creed 2.
Yep.
That's right, Creed 2. Yep. All right, so let's break down, first of all, Ryan Coogler became executive producer on this one because he turned the direction. He's giving young black directors a chance, and he turned it over to the director
Stephen Caple Jr.
That's right, he turned it over to him. And also the screenplay was written by, this time, Sylvester Stallone.
Along with Chow Holden Coker.
That's right. And let's see.
Michael B. Jordan is also an executive producer.
He's also an executive producer. So as it goes along, so it's a collaborative effort between the original writer and the writer of Creed 1. This time turning it over again, the direction over to another black director, and then trusting Sylvester Stallone to write the screenplay for this version of Creed 2. So you've seen the trailer and you pretty much know what Creed 2 is all about. But back in 1985, the Dragos kills Apollo Creed in the ring. And this is what the story is centering around, because there's a challenge that happens. So what happens is, we always talk about how great filmmaking, telling a story. This time there is a hook in the film, in the very beginning of the film, where instead of seeing what's happening with Adonis Creed this time, you see what's happening with the failed boxer from Russia, now exiled in the Ukraine, training his son to box, and you see him just demolishing opponents. What's going on, Shantae?
Hey, Shantae.
Thanks for checking in and watching us. You know what I mean? From Let's Go to Work Entertainment. You know what I'm saying? They do big things and good things in the community, so I always shout out to them every time we do, because our collabos are always great. Okay, so back to the movie. So he's just demolishing people, right? And so there's an enterprising promoter who is kind of like a Don King type character, minus the hair.
Played by Russell Hornsby.
Right, and he sees dollar signs in a potential fight. So after you see all that, it cuts to Adonis Creed, and he's getting ready to have his fight.
Right.
And something happens, and he becomes not only a contender, but he becomes the heavyweight champion of the world, and the story kicks off from there. So you see the dramatic need. So the way that Stallone wrote this, you see the dramatic need of the failed Russian fighter, played by
Dolph Lundgren.
That's right. And his son is played by
Florian Montuni. Now, it was an amazing cast. So the cast was, as you know, Sylvester Stallone, Michael B. Jordan, Dolph Lundgren, Tessa Thompson, Florian Montu. He was the guy who Michael B. Jordan was fighting.
He's actually a boxer.
Is he? Okay. Felicia Rashad, Andre Ward was also on the film. Wood Harris, like I said earlier, Russell Hornsby, Bridget Nelson, Evander Holyfield, and Sugar Ray Leonard was also in the film.
You know what? It's funny. They said that they were in the film, but maybe they were in the background because I didn't see Evander or Sugar Ray.
Yeah.
But you know who we did see?
Yeah,
we saw the defunct HBO announcing
the HBO
crew,
announcers, yeah.
because you know boxing is no longer happening on HBO. I don't know why they ended it. Maybe because Showtime. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Roy Jones
Yeah,
Jr. was also in it.
I didn't
and
see
then,
it. Yes, I did. Yes, he was definitely in it. Yes, he was.
And then Milo, is it Ventimiglia?
That's right. He's an actual,
from the show This Is Us.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, and also there's some special cameos which you will go see, and you will see the 80s, 85, reborn again, not as brilliant as it was before. But anyway, so that's what kicks it off. So you see the dramatic need of the younger Dragos fighter.
Yep, Drago.
You see the dramatic need. It's actually the dramatic need of his father.
Yeah.
And that's right. It was a great cast.
Yes.
It was a great cast. You see the dramatic need of his father to try to get back to his standing. He lost it all, and they banished him to the Ukraine. And if you know anything about politics, this is a film that's drawing into the politics of today. If you know the difference between Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine was trying to be independent from Russia, and Russia has been putting the hand down on Ukraine, trying to take it over and make it part of, to put the USSR back together. And so that's what the story is surrounding. So it brings back the old nemesis of Russia again, and maybe he can leave the Ukraine and come back to Russia itself, right? Okay, so he's been banished, and so that's what kicks the story off. And then there's a challenge that happens because the enterprising promoter decides to bring the father and son to the States and have them walk in Philadelphia and hold a press conference.
Plus we don't
and you know, but I'm just giving them a little bit, and then boom. So then it kicks off from there. And so that's all we can tell you, because the movie is incredible. Now,
it was a great movie. Most of the time, the first movie, everybody says, oh, it's a great film, and then the second film doesn't stand up or hold up to the original film, right? So I was thinking, it may not be as good as one. But my opinion, I love Creed 2. Creed 1 was an excellent film too. But this one, just to see like the process that he went through. The training was just crazy. Like the emotions, the action, the relationship between him and his fiance was beautiful. The birth of his child, it was just like everything. Well,
they see that in the trailer.
You see the baby in the trailer, right? The baby's in the trailer. So it's just fighting for. So I really, really, really like Creed 2.
Okay,
I dare say it was better than 1.
Okay, I have to break back. I have to break back because I have to break up films in different sections. First part of the first half of the script, the dramatic need, the initiating event, which is a challenge and everything. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that, Shantae. It is a love story. I have to break it down.
A beautiful love story.
I have to break it down. Stallone writes the script, and we'll also get into a little politics here. The very first Creed 1, written by Ryan Coogler. Adonis was a person that was self-contained, and he was not dependent upon Rocky. And so this is getting into some politics about how scripts are written and how the black lead character, if there's a white character there, then all of a sudden they need to somehow depend on them to get through. This is where Creed 2 to me falls a little bit, because in Creed 1 he was self-contained. He knew what he wanted. He knew he wanted this man to train him because he was friends with his father and had fought his father, and he was coming up from nothing, and he knew that this man could train him and give him the pointers necessary because he had been there. Fine. That's fine. That's all good. But in this one, the way Stallone wrote it, it was... Now, he won the Golden Globe from what Coogler did for him last time. I do not think
Sylvester Stallone wrote one also with Coogler.
Okay, but Coogler got top hit with it, right? Because he was lead writer. This time Stallone was lead writer with someone else. Different. So it's different. So when you're looking at lead writer and what the storyline, what they were trying to put across, this is different. Again, we're talking about Creed 2 for people tuning in. Creed 2. So the politics of it, when you watch the film, you see that Stallone writes it that he's more leaning on the Rocky Balboa character, which to me is just within the politic of it is kind of troublesome. Now, the dialogue between Adonis Creed and Rocky Balboa, when they have the scene, you've seen some of it in the trailer. It, to me, it is pedestrian, right? So compared to the first one, and the way that Coogler brought out the acting chops of Stallone is not necessarily in this film. Okay, it's not necessarily in this film.
But in this film, you see more of the acting chops of Michael B. Jordan, which is a plus.
Yeah, this is true. He brings
it
out.
And then
now, so in that pedestrian, there's a definition of pedestrian as far as it's just like every day. But when Coogler wrote it, lead writer, it elevated the film itself. So that right there. So talking about the relationship between them, it doesn't quite get beyond pedestrian until the second half of the film, when they're standing in Adonis Creed's father's trophy room, and that's all we'll say about that. Okay. Then it elevates to another level. Now that's that. Now let's talk about the love story that was real. Okay, go back.
Okay, so for me, in part 1, he was a newbie, right? So Adonis, he's a newbie. He was a new fighter, bright-eyed, bushy tail. He has this fire in him. He learned who his father, who Creed was his father. He was building a relationship with the girlfriend. He was building a relationship with Rocky. So that was the beginning, right? So he was kind of like young and fresh, but in this movie, part 2, Creed 2, his character arced. He's a confident fighter. He's been in the game. He's a man now. He's in a solid relationship. His relationship with Rocky is solid. I think he leaned on, just like in real life, right? Just like in real life, you know how when you have a relationship with an elder, and you tend to lean on them more for like advice, for life lessons, questions. So I think that's where the leaning came from. More so him leaning on Rocky and asking him questions, and not as self-sufficient as in 1. Because 1, he was young, and when you're young, you think you know everything, but in this one, he had been in the game, thought he knew everything there was to know, but coming up against Draco, and then that was a complex fight compared to all the other fights, because this is his father. Draco's father killed Adonis's father, right? So it was complex. It wasn't just a regular fight like in the previous one. So I do see why it was written that way. Why he was a little bit more.
But before he fights him, when he fights someone else who is a cameo in the fight in the picture, he has to get that motivational speech from Rocky before, and then it's like you have to have that motivational speech to be successful. So that means like you have to do that. But that's not his point. Now
he was a little more vulnerable in this film in the beginning.
But in this, now the love story, definitely not pedestrian writing. This love story between between Adonis and his girlfriend
Bianca.
That's right. It is beautifully written. It is definitely a love story. And
again, Tessa Thompson played it.
That's right, Tessa Thompson. And then you get to also see her in another light as a singer in the piece. She's pursuing her singing. So you see a passage of time, which is usually they tell you in script writing that you should have it should be within a certain time period, not over a year and not over that, but you see passage of time through the birth of the child. So this is a beautiful love story as far as that's concerned. Now, the fight sequences, I mean, all of them totally believable.
Yep, gripping, had everybody in the audience. So had me jumping around.
That's right, had them jumping around, and the now as far as the pacing of the film, not a doldrum in it. So I give Stallone, as far as the pacing and as far as the editor in there with the editor, I mean the director in there with the editor, pacing the film and telling the story, A1 on that.
Yeah, A1, because you want more. So when it's time for the movie to end, you're like, dang, you want to see more. The relationship, his relationship with the fiance and then the baby, and after he wins, you want more because it's a really good film.
Which sets up for there to be a 3. That's right. So this is definitely something that can go on for Michael B. Jordan for quite some time. We could have 5, 6, and even turn it over to him.
It was excellent. It was good, and I didn't think it would be as good as 1, because 1 was excellent, but 2 is really good.
Yeah, I had a discussion with some of the moviegoers afterwards, and there was a discussion going on, and they were saying that they thought that 1 was better, and I chimed in and said I thought that 1 was better too for the reason that I stated before, and they said they could see that, you know what I mean. And then the one person was saying that they thought that 2 was better, but either way,
I think 2 is better also.
Either way,
it's worth seeing.
Either way, it's the development of things. It's equal.
Yeah,
it's just that to me, Stallone wrote in a lot of one-liners for himself to get the laughs, and so I didn't necessarily too much care, because it should be about Creed, but then Creed came around and did what he had to do.
because even though he wrote a lot of one-liners for himself, people were cheering, like literally in the audience, like clapping. Well, really before the movie even started, like before the credits ran in the beginning, people was clapping right before the movie began, and at the end, people were clapping. So I mean, people were there like really, really cheering on like Michael B. Jordan, like during the fight, during his training. So even though both of them equally shined. So whatever the little zingers he might have wrote for himself, he still didn't outshine Michael B. Jordan. Because when I think about Creed and going to see Creed, I like Sylvester Stallone. He's cool, whatever. But I think Michael B. Jordan. So his star shined a lot brighter.
His dramatic acting is just, the way that he could bring the emotion out. Yeah. Excellent. Now, the acting in it, everyone's acting was on point. They had an all-star cast. But I have to continue to, be critical of certain aspects. But other than that, the film, as far as getting to the second half and going beyond pedestrian, excellent. Definitely an excellent piece.
Right.
The love story
it's beautiful.
between the two, beautifully shot, beautifully acted.
Right.
The fight sequences, well worth going to the movie to see.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Right.
The pacing of the film,
Right.
excellent. The dialogue written in it, once it got into starting and getting into the love story and the conflict within the story, and bringing Felicia Rashad in.
Right.
Excellent.
Music,
excellent. Definitely drove the film. But we had already talked about Creed 2 soundtrack.
Yeah, we did
before.
the other day when we listened to the soundtrack. But just seeing it, just hearing the music on the big screen was even nicer, because then you're thinking about the songs. I'm like, oh, that song number such and such, so they did a good job of matching the songs up with each scenes in the film. That was really good. Oh yeah, and Tessa Thompson can really sing. She performed like twice in the movie, and the song on the soundtrack was really nice. I didn't know she really could sing like that. So she has a song on there called Midnight.
Triple threat.
Yeah.
We would say
really
that.
good.
And she's been doing many films lately.
Right.
She was in Sorry to Bother You.
Yep.
Earlier this summer.
In Westworld.
Yeah. So, she's doing her thing.
What about the Philadelphia as the background?
Oh yeah. Philadelphia, and then also LA.
Yeah, because they did go to LA.
They brought LA out. So
Right.
Philadelphia, using Philadelphia as the backdrop, and using the Drago's characters walking past, looking at the statue and saying,
it was disgust.
Disgust.
Yeah.
It's like that, and you can really see the hate that was there.
Yeah.
And using and showing you, and it's always seems to be fall going into winter in Philadelphia when they shoot this. Boy, I'm telling you, we are so evident we get to be in something that stays around 60s, 50s or 60s. So, moving to LA and telling the story of how Rocky got there.
Yeah.
How he wanted to be there for his fighter.
It was excellent. We love out the relationship also between him and his daughter. So they have a touching scene. So
they have a touching scene.
Yeah.
And so it's hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And so it is definitely worth seeing.
Yeah.
But just be conscious of the subliminals that they are sending you in the story. Remember, the first Rocky was about finding the great white hope that could destroy a character like Muhammad Ali. That's what it was written for. And remember, Coogler kind of corrected that.
Yeah.
And now this one
was also corrected because
it's also
Rocky,
corrected
Rocky
because he
Adonis beat his butt.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so y'all make sure that
y'all.
That's not a spoiler.
In the trailer, he was beating everybody's butt.
Yeah.
Andre Ward.
Yeah. Well, they didn't know that.
Yeah.
They didn't know that.
The previews we read off
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So,
so
go
you
see
him,
you will enjoy
you see him
this
in a film
movie.
fighting.
Right.
Multiple fighters.
Right.
You see him kicking butt.
Right.
You feel like you're in an actual fight. So it's really worth seeing.
The angles well shot.
Yeah.
So let's go through it. So what would you rate the film?
A 10, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Early in the opening segment, the dramatic need 10, the initiating event 10, the early relationship between Rocky and Ed was kind of pedestrian 7. Later in the film, relationship 10. The later writing of the relationship between Rocky and him 10. Fight sequences 10. Pacing 10. Everything's a 10.
Yeah, I give it 10 all across the board. Also, everything.
Okay. So
everything.
Yeah. So, and the soundtrack. Make sure that you get the soundtrack. When they brought in Rick Ross
And Nas. That
and
was
Nas
nice.
together in the
Yeah.
scenes as they're passing through the city, it's great.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. So this has been another great edition of the film review.
Yeah.
Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind.
Go see Creed 2. It's
That's
really,
right. You go
really,
see
really,
it.
really
It hits theaters actually. This was advanced. It hits theaters actually tomorrow.
Yep.
So
go
make sure you see it all weekend. We need
Yeah.
this film to be number one.
I would actually go see it again.
Yeah, it's worth seeing again.
Twice.
You know. So we are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D,
Tracey.
and we review culture in movies, music, society, and politics. And this has been the film review. See you next time.
Bye-bye.